Hi, this is Carrie Schell from On Point Quilter. Lately I've been obsessed with heart quilts, and since I've been designing heart quilts, I knew I needed a pantograph to go with them. This video will show you how I designed the pantograph using Art and Stitch. For this design, I decided I would start by creating a heart with a swirl in it, and I really didn't want to make it symmetrical, so this will be a little bit more flowing of a heart. So I'm going to start with the curve tool, and just like if I was drawing, I'm going to just do one side of the heart. And when I get to that point at the bottom, I'm going to use the Control key before I click on the point. And that will give me a cusp there. And once I have my heart done, I will select, I'll use the select one to accept it. And then to do my swirl, I'm going to go to the shapes, and the very last one is a spiral, and I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to do the double swirl spiral with just one revolution. And so I'll click on OK, and it will basically create a swirl. Now I can use the rotate button, and I can use the mirror image button to sort of adjust where I want my swirl, how I want my swirl. Make my heart a little bit bigger, move that. And now I just need to frankly clean up everything here. So I'll start with my heart. I'll make things a little bit rounder. And then for my swirl, I have to figure out which of the pieces I want to come in from. And now I'm connected up. And for this one, I'm going to go out. So I'm going to actually delete that point. Bring that in, and I'm going to smooth that one out a bit. So once I have my heart and swirl, or something that I like, I am going to go ahead and take the select, and I'm going to make it red. And when I'm drawing, I like to actually change the pen width a bit, so I'm going to actually bring that up to 1 and apply that. And it just, I don't know, gives it a little more prominence, which I like when I'm drawing. And when I click away, it immediately sort of tells me where I want to make some changes. Okay, so once I've got one I like, I'm going to again use the select, and I'm going to do make 3 copies. So I'm just going to do Control D 3 times. And because this is going to be a pantograph, I'm going to place these hopefully in a way that will work. And obviously I don't want them all stacked up against each other, so I'm going to do some rotation. And I'll press my space key here to for this one, I'm going to do a mirror image on it. Move that in place. And for this one, I'll bring it down, and I think I'm going to just try to rotate that. I want to get some idea what my repeat is going to look like. So in order to do so, I'm going to go to the interlocking preview. But I also know I'm going to have an overlap, and I have to figure out the amount of the overlap, because when it's calculating the preview, it's going to start from the far left point. And I know that my starting point is actually going to be here. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm just going to measure that distance. And if I go down to the bottom, I can see that the distance is 1.44. So I can now do a view, interlocking preview options, and I'm going to change the horizontal to minus, I'm going to just put in 1.5 to apply that. Okay. And then I want to view the interlocking preview. So I can now get a better idea of how the design is going to interlock. Now I do need to connect up all of the shapes, and so what I was thinking is to doing some swirls or some echoes to follow the shape of what's been already designed, and then in some cases I may have to add a little bit more space so that things flow. But I'm going to start by, actually I will zoom in a little bit more, and I'll start by picking up my curve tool. And again, if this is my start, this is my end, so you can see the green point there. And I'm just going to, again, do an echo. And then I want to end at the start point of that second heart. So I'm going to take the reshape tool now and clean that up. Sometimes I'll get rid of that point. One of my goals is always to have as few of points as possible out there, because I think the more points you add, the harder it is for the curves to continue to flow nicely. So on this one here, I'm going to use the T key, and I'm going to connect that to the next shape. And now when I'm looking at this, I need to clean that up a bit, and then I need to create the curves for the next to connect the next two. So pick up my curve tool, 1, 2, 3, and for that last point I'm going to hold the control down and then follow the curve. And for this one I'm going to connect to this side of the heart. So I'm going to use my T key, connect up. I'm going to make that a smooth point, and then again I need to sort of play with that to make that a little bit more pleasing. And then I will pick up the curve tool again, and do the reshape. Click on my last point there, and now they are all connected. And I'm liking that better. Now I can see that this is too close here, so I'm going to go to my interlocking preview options, and I had set it at -1.5. I'm going to just change it to 1.2 and click on Apply and OK. And that will give me just a little bit more space to work with here. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and do a curve back to my starting point here. And some of these I'm going to turn my snap on, move that a little bit better in place, turn the snap back off, and to turn the snap on and off, you can just use the S key on your keyboard. Now what I want to do is make sure that my starts and my stops are on the same plane. So what I'm going to do is drag a guideline down. I'm going to right click on my ruler, make sure Snap to Guidelines is checked. And now what I want to do is use my Reshape tool, and I can see what it's doing. Every time I'm moving it, it's moving that. But once I've got it, I think where I want it, I am going to actually test the stitch out, or test what the repeat looks like by doing the select, doing the repeat, and for this one I'll try changing the horizontal to 1.2. If I click on Apply, I do have to do some fixes, but I'm thinking the 1.1, and then I'm going to offset every other row by 50%. Apply that. That gap is not too bad, but I could reduce it a bit to -0.5. Oh, that's too much. So -0.2, apply, and then I want to fix that start, but I'm going to remember those -1.1 and -2. So once I've applied that and do OK, I can see my one challenging item here. So I'm just going to zoom in on one of those intersections, and what I'm going to correct is the first one. So I'm going to bring that over, and hopefully that design is a little bit more, hooks up a little bit better. And now I'll go into my sequence view. I'll delete the last 3 items by clicking on the control in each of them, do a delete. I'm going to go ahead and turn the interlocking preview off, and now I'm going to do another repeat design, and I think I had 1.3. Okay, now I'm seeing that come together a little bit better, and again -0.2 and a 50% offset. And then I'm going to actually change this to be 4 across and 4 down, so I have a better view on that. And I can click on Apply, click on OK, and now I can zoom in a bit, and I can see what this is going to look like being stitched out. Now when I'm looking at this, the one thing I don't like is there's a little bit of space right there, and so I think I can resolve that by just making that one lobe a little bit better. And so now again I'll go ahead and do a shift, select all of these, delete everything other than the first one. And on that first one, I'm going to edit that, and I'm going to just draw a box, and I'm going to stretch that just a bit. And so I want to go back and recheck my smooth. So that I went back and I filled in the space. And now I'll do another select and a repeat. And the key is to remember what those dimensions were before. So if you need to, you can write them down. And I'll do a 4x4 again. I'm going to just change that to 40% for a minute. Actually, I like that better. And now I can do an OK. I'm just going to zoom in a bit with my navigator box, and I can take a look at what that design is going to look like. And so once I've got that, I'm really good to go. I would go ahead and go back and delete the extra designs, get it down to 1. Properties tab, I'm going to go to transform, and rather than a height of 6.3 inches, let's just change that to 12 and apply that. And I'm going to get rid of my guidelines, remove guidelines, select, and now I can select this again, add my stitches, do another stitch out. This is Carrie Schell. Thanks so much for watching. For additional videos and techniques, please sign up for my newsletter at www.onpointquilter.com. I also have put this pantograph up for sale if you don't want to make one of your own.